If ever your life could be a true crime podcast episode, then this podcast is for you. We're about to embark on a roller coaster of emotions, insights, survival, and stories about escape. So buckle up and let the journey begin.
Good day, all, and welcome into the EscapePod. I'm Julie.
I'm Charity. That was a new intro. Good day, all.
It has been, I used to say good day all the time, and then I stopped for a while. Now I'm doing it again.
Well, that sounds fresh.
Hey, thanks.
Hey, good job.
I try. Most people will be listening to this probably in the new year.
Hashtag keeping it fresh.
Yeah. Hashtag 2025.
Bring it on.
We've almost been doing this a year.
I know.
Isn't that nuts?
I know.
Didn't it go so
It
fast?
went fast.
I can't. I need time to slow down a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guess what?
I know it goes faster, right?
Well, and especially
feels
now
like.
it needs to go faster because it's so freaking dark for so many hours of the day. And I'm like, okay, now you can speed up all you want.
I had a feeling that might be your escapism today.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this time of year, I can't, I have blown off social events and early evening things because it feels like it's midnight and I just want to go hibernate. My body is telling me time to hibernate. So I've been hibernating.
That's good.
Yeah, that's.
I've read some things lately where it's meant to be like a quiet time of year.
Yeah.
And it's not for most of us, but that would be wonderful to embrace that.
Like in the early days, just like after Thanksgiving, everything slowed down and it was kind of like the last few years.
No.
December has been
Crazy.
so. Wonder how that sound will translate when you're editing.
Just like it sounds. Yeah.
Well, we can make a button for that.
I think we
Might sound like a goat.
we would have to import that one. Yeah. What are you? So that is what you're
That's
escaping?
what I'm escaping.
The
is
darkness.
The darkness and the seasonal
Hello, darkness,
stuff.
friend.
I will say though, I have been. That was pretty good. I was. I've been putting ashwagandha drops in my morning shakes, and
That
taking
helps?
L-theanine. I seem to be like in a
Okay.
better mood because this time of year I really struggle. I have the full spectrum lamp on and seasonal affective is real. The struggle is real.
My issue is simply waking up in the morning because it's just so dark in the morning. So whereas in the summertime, I would work for hour before anybody else was up and before I got ready for work. And I can't, like my body wakes, like I will wake up, but I cannot get myself out of bed to like do functional
Mornings
things.
aren't a problem for me.
No, mine is the morning.
Mine's the night. Like it's dark so early, and I just want to start like it's. I swear, I am solar powered. So the sun goes away, and I just start like picture a weed that
Shriveling
just
up.
got weed killer. It just kind of like starts to wilt and die. That's what I feel like. So
Don't die,
well,
please. That would be terrible.
thank you.
Yeah. What did you think I was going to say? Wilt away, Charity. Wilt away.
Wilt away.
No. I would like to escape a random pain in my ankle. I will just describe it as this. You know, if you like sit funny or like sit with a foot under you and then you get up and you're like, oh, I have a kink in my foot. Days now I've had like a kink in my ankle and it almost feels like I twisted it but I don't remember doing that.
Kick anybody?
So not that I recall.
Anything? No.
No, I have a child who, if like he stubbed his toe on a couch, would kick the couch thinking it hurts the couch. And I'm like, I don't know when you're going to learn that couch does not care one bit.
Yeah.
So stop hurting yourself more to prove a point to an inanimate object.
Yeah.
Oh, well. So I don't know what caused it, but I would love for it to go away because it's weird. It's like sometimes it's like a certain angle that I'm walking at that I'll feel it more. And then other times, like right now, I don't feel it at all. And I do kind of feel your pain with the darkness because, it's been extremely hard to get up in the morning. And my kids don't want to get up in the morning and just makes for some fun in life, let me tell you.
But I think that whole darkness thing, I mean, I think subconsciously our brains think we're dying because it's all black outside. So it's like, well, we just need to close our eyes and hibernate. Let's pretend that, we're kind of in that, limbo, purgatory. Let's just wait until the sun is back to fuel you and recharge your batteries.
Yeah.
So.
I am one to like the change of seasons, though. So I have kind of enjoyed, we had some snow. I'm not going to lie. I kind of liked it because I was sick of looking at brown grass. I'd rather see white on the ground. Yeah.
I like the big fluffy snowflakes when I'm inside and everything's warm.
Right. Yeah. That's all right.
It's pretty.
It's true.
It is pretty.
Okay.
But even better is when it has snowed and it's sunny outside. That's even better. And then the snow makes your eyes blind and it's gorgeous.
Well, I think this weekend it's supposed to be like 50 degrees one of the days.
Yeah.
So that's the beauty of living here because there are other parts of the country that don't.
Where it's warm days.
And
And that is the benefit to being in our area.
Yeah.
Not that we need more people to come here, but
You always add that caveat.
I do because we've had so many new people coming here. I love meeting new people. It's just that our city hall and the management of the community's growth is not happening at the same rate.
Right.
And so that's causing some issues. And with knowing the budgetary challenges that the city is facing.
Careful, you're like dipping into city council mode right there.
I am. But I still care about those things.
Yeah.
I
know you do.
Yeah. You don't ever stop caring about it. But I worry for the people having to make those decisions and make things help. And our mayor just got rid of our public works director. And so I hope there's some good planning going on with some other people. So,
okay. So tell me about our topic today.
Ugh.
Ooh.
Dirty, dirty dogs is what we're escaping.
Okay.
Con artists, a.k.a. pieces of crap.
Yeah.
Okay.
So did this stem from our conversation about how people have managed to get into bank accounts and those types of things, or were you already working on this?
This is from a direct recent experience that entered the OneHeart sphere.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to tell it in kind of a story form, though. Yes, this happened to me. We weren't taken advantage of.
Nope.
But I can see how easily it could have happened. So to kind of set the stage, just imagine that you are involved with a struggling nonprofit. Almost all nonprofits struggle. Very few are funded in perpetuity or have, a big endowment. So it's every year, where's the money going to come from? How are we going to take care of people? And we have, more than 100 people on this campus with us right now and partners who are headquartered here. And there's just a lot. And you're thinking how can you continue to support them as people rebuild their lives and do this amazing work? And then you get an email like this. Hello, Ms. Doyle. Our Executive Vice Chairman, Fernando Aguirre, was recently referred to OneHeart by one of our investors in our firm and a major philanthropist in the United States. Is this a good email address for me to connect with you and schedule a brief meeting for Mr. Aguirre to have a conversation with you regarding fundraising? Kind regards, Ralph. And Ralph has a title of Vice President of External Affairs to the Executive Vice Chairman of DHS Ventures and Holdings.
Okay.
Looks like a pretty official email.
Okay.
I'm like, you might be curious, right? Anyone might be curious. But maybe you're busy, and maybe you only have time to give this unfamiliar company a rudimentary Google search in the 2-minute cursory sweep of the internet that you have available. And DHS has an official-looking website. They seem to be global and far-reaching. There's a couple news articles that come up high in the search rankings that say DHS just bought out a major Hollywood movie production company called Carol Co. Enterprises for $745 million.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's okay. This all sounds great so far. And then you might be curious as to who serves on the board of DHS Ventures and Holdings. And you see people like the CEOs of Apple, Oracle, Rolls-Royce, GoodRx, WhatsApp, and the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. And you might think, company certainly has a broad reach. I wonder who in their investor portfolio at this level told them about our little nonprofit in rural South Dakota, right?
Okay, but if you're one of those people and you are listening,
We love you.
we love you.
This is a worthy investment, I promise you.
But you have to be real.
Be real.
Yes.
And these are real people.
Right.
When I get to the bottom of this, man, I can't wait. I'm taking this guy down. So, like I did, you might reply to Mr. Ralph and say, the vice president of external affairs to the executive vice chairman of DHS Ventures and Holdings, and tell him, sure, I'd be interested in learning more. Then you get an email like this. Hi, Ms. Doyle. Thank you very much for the reply, and we truly admire all the work you do for your organization.
As they should.
As I mentioned, our Executive Vice Chairman, Fernando Aguirre, was referred to OneHeart by a member of our board of directors regarding Fernando's strong desire and personal interest in getting back to his true passion, which is nonprofit fundraising, and it was suggested by our board member to reach out to OneHeart. He essentially would like to leverage his large network portfolio of investors, who are corporate executives and high net worth individuals and most financially capable donors and prospective donors who could make $2.5 million gifts or higher, $2.5 million gifts or higher, and national private and family foundations and invest their endowment with our firm, and with whom he has preserved, solid, cultivated, dynamic, there's just a word salad now, steady relationships that have a strong presence throughout the United States to bring diversified funding on a contract basis to your organization. He develops forward-thinking approaches to reach out to his network of investors to address the unique challenges of philanthropy, and he convenes his funders to strengthen ties across your organization's mission. He is a matchmaker and a connector. He brings together funders from within and across sectors to form networks and to develop and nurture crucial skills to make the work of each grant maker in the sector as a whole more meaningful and more effective. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And he would like to meet with you the week of the 25th of November. Okay. I'm already seeing some flags. But your imagination might start to okay, doing cartwheels. Could this be true? Maybe this is the answer to all your nonprofit funding prayers, right? And never mind that little misstep where the first email said it was an investor and then the second one said that it was a board member. But in a lot of big organizations, investors and board members might be one and the same. Potato, right?
Right.
But it couldn't hurt just to talk to him, right?
Well, and just to confirm, it was a fairly well-written email, right? Because a lot of them that become sketchy, what stands out is grammar and spelling and weird verbiage that you're this is coming from a bot or whatever. That's, very just trying to get your attention and hope you don't notice all the mistakes.
Yep. But, again, it can't just hurt to talk to him. So you might agree to their offer to meet virtually. And they set up an appointment for a week out, the day before Thanksgiving, the day you were going to take off to enjoy with your family. But this could be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for the nonprofit that you've poured your heart and soul into, and you would never forgive yourself if you didn't chase down every lead for revenue.
Correct.
So ahead of the appointment, yet another person from the firm emails you to confirm you will be there. Super official looking. Then the meeting happens. Even though the invite is 4 different people, it's just you and this mysterious Fernando Aguirre. Is he your fairy godfather or is he something more nefarious? So ahead of the meeting, you thought about how on earth people in the league he allegedly lives in heard about your little nonprofit in rural South Dakota. And he drops a bomb on you. He opens this virtual meeting by saying that his sweet elderly mother just retired in the Colonial Pines neighborhood in Rapid City. Also red flag. No one here calls it that. And you might ask him, in fact, the only way most people even know that exists is if you happen to be that area and you pull up your weather app. The weather app will call it Colonial Pines. Okay. So you might ask him.
I was just thinking, I'm not sure.
You're not even sure? Yeah. Yeah, it's south.
Okay.
South Rapid.
That was my guess, but I was like, where have I seen that?
Yeah. And then you might ask him questions about why his interest in your nonprofit, and he nails the answer. His mom heard about it, blah, blah, blah. He looks into it and da-da-da-da. And then later he talks about raising $1 million. And that seems like kind of a disconnect. based on everything that he said and the fact that he's connected with dozens upon dozens of super high net worth individuals and all he can raise is $1 million? Like, are you kidding me? And you press a little more and it becomes clear that he has no idea what your annual budget is, even though our reports are on our website, right?
They are.
Red flag number 3. And then he talks about how all you need to do in order to engage his very benevolent services and help you in your struggling nonprofit is to cover his expenses for all the traveling and wining and dining he's prepared to do with all of these very super wealthy individuals on your behalf for the next 12 months, and that will only cost you $5,000 a month for his services. A man who's probably earning $50 million a year if he is who he says he is, right?
Correct.
Red flag what? 4, 5, 27? I don't know.
They're adding up.
They're adding up. So the flags are flapping like crazy, and you start putting him off. You're starting to warning bells. Maybe you tell him you need to talk to your board first as an excuse to slow roll him, to which he asks, when can that happen? Sounding a little pushy. But all you need is some time to go do some research, real research into this guy.
Yes.
He ends the call by telling you that he just so happens, cherry on top, to be having a meeting with Melinda French Gates next week. And with my permission, with your permission, Charity, would I be able to put OneHeart on her radar for you?
Did you say?
Well, of course, permission granted.
Yeah.
Right. In your dream world. Yeah. And then he sends you a master services agreement with the wildest PDF you'll ever see in your life, along with his email. This is the email. I'm not going to read the whole 50-page PDF, but I am going to read the email.
50 pages? You didn't tell me this part.
Pages, and I will break down some highlights of that document. Sorry, it is really cold in our studio today, and that means my nose is running.
We both have runny noses.
Because it's freaking cold. Okay. But I'll give you some highlights from the master agreement that just... Now I'm having a good time with this, but I'd still love to throat punch this guy. Okay, so dear Charity, it was truly a pleasure connecting with you by video today to explore this idea a bit further, and please call me Fernando. What? I'm enclosing a packet with my CV, an overview of donors and high net worth individuals and foundations who are current investors in our firm, and a scanned copy of a contract I had with the World Health Organization. And please disregard the retainer amount listed in this contract, as my flat nominal retainer is $5,000 per month. In the attached contract, it was $10,000 a month.
Oh.
In addition, which means you're getting a bargain, right?
Yes.
He's so smart. It's just like crazy. Okay. So in addition, I am including a query report of my individual contacts with a $1 billion and above net worth to whom I could pitch OneHeart. Again, and he's only talking raising $1 million. Like, he's just shit the bed all over the place in this thing. So what I propose is to work closely with you and your development team, which you can see on my website. I don't have.
Yeah.
And assist in the retention of those donors or corporate sponsors that I'm connected with. Also to make new introductions to my clients with high net worth donors throughout the U.S., with national corporations, as well as open my Rolodex of national private foundations that would support your mission. Through my cultivated contacts and relationships, I empower funders by creating strategic ways to amplify their giving and achieve more impact than they thought possible. My goal is simple: to help increase the diverse funding sources of the funds they could potentially give to your organization by focusing my efforts, leveraging my relationships, and capitalizing on new opportunities for the future. I start with the end in mind. I help to identify prospective funders and thus accomplish more by proactively finding the best partners to achieve. I swear to God, he's a king of word salad. Okay, I'm going to stop because I'm just starting to choke on my own bile.
So then you bought yourself time to do.
I bought myself to do time. And here's what was really fun, though.
Okay.
Here, I'm just going to jump down because he tells me about just such a strategist he is. Oh, he's so just clever. Okay, also, I have looked at my travel schedule for this month, and I've checked with my CRM that the following individuals with whom I have confirmed meetings are intrinsically connected to the mission of OneHeart. These individuals below are totally aligned with your mission and have complex investments and capital ventures in the Rapid City metro area. Now, this freaking moron, you could easily find out that I have served in an official capacity for the city of Rapid City. I know who's investing in our community. I have connections. So get this. Cliff Asness, hedge fund investor. These are real people. Ronald Perlman, Phil Knight, the CEO of Nike, Larry Page, president and CEO of Google. These people are not investing in Rapid City, South Dakota. I'm like, all right. And anyway, best regards, blah, blah, blah. Call me Fernando. Okay, I'm calling you something. Okay, so you really, really still want this to be true, but there's way too many red flags at this point. And you have to do your due diligence, right? I mean, maybe, but you have to confirm it. So you've got to search for definitive answers one way or the other. But first, let's talk about this string of email. Okay, so first, again, we're put on the radar by an investor and then a board member and then his mom.
Yeah.
That doesn't add up.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty good at math. Doesn't add up.
Yeah.
And I can see some, again, conflating the investors and the board members, but mom? Like, And then he says he already has appointments with that long list of 10 rich and influential people, yet he needs $60,000 in travel expenses for meetings he already has set up?
Yeah.
Okay. What the hell? What's our red flag count up to now?
Many. We're in double digits, I think.
And then he says that that list of 10 really rich and influential people have investments in Rapid City, South Dakota. No.
Yeah.
Okay. There's obviously some serious overreaching. So the attachment he sends is one for the books. First of all, like I said earlier, it's 50 pages. But here's the fun piece. He quotes himself. You have inspirational quotes from inspirational people.
You did not tell me this part.
He quotes himself. I'm going to give you some nuggets. Ready? Okay. Take one. When courage, genius, and generosity unite as action of consequence, philanthropy happens.
Okay.
Where most see challenges, I see opportunities.
I feel like that's just something people see or say.
And he gushes over himself when he's written the damn document. And it's just like, he is a master of blah, 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 blah. Just pages and pages of this stuff. So typical narcissist, totally narcissistic behavior.
I was going to say, so sometimes when we are doing speaking engagements at places or like we've had to present at conferences, things like that, and they ask for your bio. And most of the people who work here are like, oh, I hate having to provide a bio because you do feel like they're so uncomfortable making themselves sound good.
And then when you're sitting in the room before a keynote speech and someone's reading your bio, it's like,
it's so uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable. Yeah.
And they all, it's all so well deserved, but it is so uncomfortable to talk about yourself that way. So that's what I find especially funny about this.
He's got it down, all because it's fake.
Yeah.
Just wait till we get into his history.
Yeah.
This is so interesting. Okay. So already plenty of red flags, yet you're still just a little tiny bit hopeful because you want it to be true and you start doing your homework and you discover that the majority of the news about this company and this man are really on these obscure news media that he probably created himself.
So it's not Forbes or Fortune or the Wall Street Journal saying these things, correct?
No, ma'am. But they are high on the Google search rankings, so he knows how to,
SEO.
do all this stuff. Yep. Nothing positive was on legitimate news sources.
Okay.
And then this was fun because I put my kids and my husband, this was the day before Thanksgiving. So I went home. I just had this meeting that I'd been looking forward to and keeping it from my staff for 2 weeks because I didn't want to get anyone's hopes up. I was like, if this guy is what he says he is, I was just like, I could envision telling us all at the all staff meeting next week that, hey, we just had a blessing,
Yep.
Nope.
No.
Motherfucker. So anyway, I'm serious. He's
Tell me how you really feel.
I really don't like this guy. So nothing positive on legitimate news sources. And then we start seeing these photos. And it's interesting because my husband did this little thing where he laid all the photos together. It's the same exact face, expression. It's the same photo photoshopped onto all these different bodies. His expression never changes. And it's pretty freaking hilarious once you look at all the photos stacked together. And then you search LinkedIn and you see hundreds of postings on LinkedIn that show DHS investing in all sorts of these global initiatives. And each article has a formula. It's this gorgeous picture of that country or someplace in that country. And some very shallow words.
Okay.
So it's very clearly AI generated, very surface level. And then you notice that any news story written by that is referenced is written by DHS themselves.
Right.
What?
Yeah.
Like, that's not how this game is played. And I really wanted to tell, I mean, he's never going to listen to our podcast probably, but I didn't. I'll tell you what I said to him after all this. But anyway, the piece de resistance is that the headline that grabs our attention. Ready? Forger and scam artist just can't seem to give up his trade. This was January 6th of 2018 by Kevin Krause for the Dallas Morning News.
Ooh.
And now when I did my cursory research on him, I did find articles about Mauricio Aguirre, but I didn't see references to Fernando Aguirre. So I thought, okay, some guy's got the same last name.
Yeah.
That's not uncommon,
crazy.
right? We have
Correct.
hundreds of millions of people in this country. So, but nope, this is him. So in reading about Mauricio Aguirre, super interesting, eccentric. He once charmed his way into a college deanship in Dallas without having any of the, chops or like requisite CV requirements to do that. He was sentenced to federal prison for creating counterfeit presidential and U.S. government memorabilia.
Ooh.
And he had a fetish for rare and expensive fountain pens and other like eclectic collectibles.
Listen, I like a good pen.
Well, you're not going to pay $17,000 for one, are you?
I am not.
No. Okay. So this particular time, he was sentenced to 15 months, and he'd received 57 months in 2006 for a similar con, where he forged a JFK bronze presidential seal and authentication documents that he used to obtain pens from 4 dealers while posing as a lobbyist affiliated with the White House.
Huh.
So a lot of what I'm going to read next actually comes straight out of Kevin Krause's article because he just did such a good job. I didn't want to paraphrase it much. So Krause called him a, quote, creative and prolific imposter, end quote, who had 3 previous federal fraud convictions and has used a host of aliases and false identities and other fictions to pull off his scams. He set in a motion for a lesser sentence in 2006 that he just can't control himself. Psychologists say that this is a common trait among con men. They don't experience guilt or fear and are always looking for an edge. Dallas forensic psychologist and courtroom expert, I think his name, William E. Flynn, said, in talking about Mauricio, a.k.a. Call Me Fernando, who spent a career studying the criminal mind. These are people who do not learn from punishment. Flynn went on to say that most people in this category are less likely to commit crimes the older they get, but not so with con men. He said they often don't age out. Mike Snipes, a former Dallas County judge who defended Aguirre in 2005, said he's not evil, he's just delusional. He thinks he's something he's not, he said. That's why he's always getting in trouble, because of the fantasies he has. But I would argue that you have to be a special kind of POS to try to take money away from a nonprofit. Like, you just...
Yeah.
Special place in hell, buddy. And money doesn't appear to be a big motivation for Aguirre. Unlike in many white-collar fraud cases, the amount he scammed is in the low thousands, not millions. Acquaintances said he craved something else like attention and respect. Yeah. And so to pull off his elaborate deceits over the years, Aguirre created for himself the veneer of an Ivy League-educated man of business and world affairs with elite political connections all the way to the White House, who was chummy with celebrities and important people like Melinda French Gates. In a failed attempt in 2005 to prove his significantly reduced mental capacity, Aguirre presented a letter from a psychotherapist who opined that he suffered from depression, anxiety, narcissistic personality disorder, and borderline personality disorder. Trifecta. Okay. Therapist said he based his diagnosis on Aguirre's fantasies of unlimited success, sense of entitlement, and intense desire to be successful and admired at the expense of truthfulness and all these other things. The prosecutor in that case, however, said that Aguirre's actions showed not a lack of impulse control, but, quote, the deliberate acts of a man who knowingly deceives others to make himself feel important, end quote.
I feel like the 50-page PDF could be used as evidence in any court case against him.
Yeah. She also noted, this prosecutor, that Aguirre had his mother pose for a photo as the former British Prime Minister, Margaret Thatcher, while using a fountain pen he got from one of his victims. And I'm sure using his mad Photoshop skills. So it's not the first time he's brought his sweet little mommy into his cons here. I don't know if she's a willing participant or knows what he's doing, or if she's still alive. I have no idea. During his 2006 sentencing, Aguirre told the judge, quote, "I am fully aware that I need help and I want help."
Maybe.
Yeah. What did he say? The judge ordered him to undergo mental health treatment as part of his sentence, but said he didn't want to bet on him going straight. As part of a later ruse, Aguirre forged a letter supposedly signed by President Kennedy in 1962, as well as a White House seal from President George W. Bush administration and a photograph of an eagle statue supposedly used by President George H.W. Bush. He also created a counterfeit eagle statue he claimed belonged to former U.S. Supreme Court Justice William Rehnquist. Federal agents in 2013 seized hundreds of objects from his Dallas home during a search, including 43 wax seal stamps, 68 silver badge emblems, and 49 pairs of cufflinks. They also took dozens of metal seals supposedly from the White House, Buckingham Palace, the House of Lords, Queen Elizabeth II, and Prince of Wales.
Man.
So, and that was after the 2006 sentencing.
What OneHeart swag would he have liked? I have good pens.
You have good pens. Yeah. So
some
2006,
stickers,
now
perhaps?
2013. He just can't quit.
He can't quit,
Like he
no.
loves, he can't. He just can't do it.
I actually, not to this extent, but I am reminded of someone who I first knew through my TV days, who has a lot of similarities.
Really?
Yes. The amounts and the extent of some of the cons, they wouldn't even come close. But the mindset, for sure, is similar. It's same. It's like probably the attention, like the money to get by, but the attention for sure could not help himself.
Yep.
Could not help
That's
himself.
what they crave.
Yep.
Absolutely. You saying that reminded me of like, oh gosh, was it a period of 4 years or so? I was dealing with somebody that was a con artist in a different way. He did have legitimate services and products that he was offering people, but there still was some like conning going on. So maybe if we have time, remind me of that, and I'll get to that.
Okay.
But so this guy Mauricio Aguirre would land prominent jobs because he forged a Harvard University transcript. And then on another, like on his LinkedIn, it says he has a Yale University master's degree. So he's just, anyway, that, it was the Dallas County Community College District. He once charmed Texas conservatives into thinking he was a well-connected Republican activist, and that landed him a job as dean of that community college.
Wow.
And he resigned in 2005 after the Dallas Morning News exposed his fake degree. Later that year, he pleaded guilty to mail fraud for tricking a pen magazine publisher into sending him 11 pens worth $17,000 in exchange for free publicity.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What
Holy
else has he done?
cow.
Let's see. So it just goes on and on and on. While he was awaiting sentencing in one of his cases, he still wasn't done. He tricked a London jeweler into sending him samples of cufflinks with a fake story about wanting to sell them at an upcoming social function that Britain's Prince Andrew would be attending. And at the time of his October 2016 arrest, he appeared to be employed as executive vice president of a New York City private equity firm under the alias Fernando Aguirre. And his bio on the Bear Group Holdings website said he lived in Greenwich, Connecticut, and is sometimes known as the Rainmaker for his ability to make things happen.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. And Rainmaker, that was language used in the 50-page monstrosity that he emailed me. It said that he's worked in the defense industry and he was an invaluable asset to Republican gubernatorial and presidential campaigns. I mean, he's got it all going on.
Fascinating.
Yeah, he's what I'm looking at now. He forged a letter from former British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher. That also was a way to trick a pen dealer into thinking that she used one of his pens.
Oh.
So he's born in Mexico. He came to the United States in 1985 as a teenager, settling in San Antonio with his mother. And so he's fluent in Spanish. He's a big man, 6'4", 275 pounds. This is where it gets wild. He is married to a mind-body psychotherapist.
Oh, my.
Whose specialties include treating depression, anxiety, and compassion fatigue, according to her website. Married for 20 years at the time of this article. Julia Aguirre told the U.S. district judge on one of these cases that her husband wants nothing more than to get better and he has a big heart. This led to an exchange with her attorney. He's a knucklehead, isn't he? Yes. Why stick with him? I see light in him and I love him. Aguirre's legal troubles go back as far as 1996 when he served a year in federal prison for using a San Antonio lawyer's credit card to buy airline tickets.
Ooh, that's a big no-no.
Yeah. So when he got out of prison that time, the immigration judge deported him to Mexico.
Okay.
And he had to return legally weeks later.
Okay.
And not long after that, he flashed a fake State Department badge in an attempt to get a free room at a hotel in Dallas where he was charged with impersonating a federal agent.
See, holy cow.
Served 4 months in prison. Next, he made a foray into politics by starting the National Council for Republican Congress in 2001. He had to resign after being caught in numerous lies. Months later, he was hired as Dean of Planning and Resource Development at the Bill J. Priest Institute for Economic Development in Dallas. His impressive resume listed a master's degree in business administration from Harvard and the jobs at the White House and the State Department. And again, everything's faked.
That's crazy.
He just doubles
He just
down.
can't stop.
He can't. Yeah, and I mean, he's not physically harming people, but you
like
could
you
really,
said,
with a nonprofit, you could take one down.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Like the wife saying, I love him and, he has
a big heart for
And it's
himself,
like,
maybe.
Well, but I mean, we don't have extra funds to actually, support his big heart.
His habit. Let's see what else. Fake press releases, just on and on.
So you emailed him back.
I did.
Are you going to share that?
I will. It was very short and to the point.
Uh-huh.
I had time over the weekend to research you. I will have to pass on this, quote, opportunity. And then just know that we have a detective on our board and they have requested your correspondence. And really what I did is I sent all the correspondence to the Attorney General's office for the state of South Dakota.
Yeah.
So he did not reply.
Mm-hmm.
Shock.
Mm-hmm.
Shock. So in light of the recentness of this and in light of the fact that someone close to me was just recently scammed out of about $10,000, I wanted to pull together some material to help those of you out there be able to spot some of the signs that a charming con artist has possibly entered your world. So one of the things I learned is that new charities pop up in the wake of natural disasters. Mm-hmm. Disgusting. Mm-hmm. These people prey on well-intentioned donors who want to help victims of hurricanes or wildfires or other types of natural disasters, and they're hoping to steal the donor's money. Not only that, but if they get the right information, they can steal the donors' identities too. And that's
shoot.
So watch out for new charities. In fact, after this Fernando thing, we got a notice from a community foundation in California wanting our bank account information for direct deposit. And I'm just like,
Yep.
I don't think so. So, I mean, I called, I researched, and they were legit.
Yeah.
But I'm like, red alert, right? You're asking for my bank information. I don't even know who you are.
We did get the money.
We did
by
get
the
the
way.
money, yes.
So it was definitely legit.
And they were very lovely. I called, never call like any of the phone numbers in an email.
Yeah.
Go to the website, look them up that way. So I called, I talked to somebody and just said, hey, here's my concerns. And she's like, you know what? We can mail you the check if you're more comfortable with that. Like, we get it. But we just went to, ACH over COVID. And so they put all my fears to rest.
You also triggered another memory, which was it actually happened a few years ago. And I cannot for the life of me remember how the initial correspondence, but it was related to somebody in Boston. And again, it is a real person leading a real company. But email or whatever I received, there was something suspicious in it. And I just was like, this can't be right. And I, too, looked up the firm, and I actually called like their communications office because as a journalist, and you can usually get somebody there. And I just explained, like, just so you know, this is what I got. And the gentleman was so nice on the phone, and he was like, it's definitely not from us. This does happen sometimes, but it was a wealthy family, and they do have a foundation. I mean, and I think what my red flag was at that point when I looked into them was that the 99.9% of what they do is in the Boston or immediate area.
Yeah.
So it's like, why are you contacting us in Rapid City?
Rural South Dakota.
Didn't make sense.
Yeah.
And so I let them know. And the guy's like, thank you, because every so often we kind of get the surge of things like this where somebody is using this name to get into people's inboxes, and we appreciate knowing about it, and we keep track, and they will report it to law enforcement if it's bad enough and whatever. So, yes, I can't believe I'd completely forgotten about that.
Well, it's really important too and that reminded me of something else that someone attempted to try to pull on us. But it's really, really good, particularly as a nonprofit, to have really good checks and balances in place. So, like for instance, with our organization, you can't just submit an invoice to our finance director and have it get paid. It doesn't work that way. I'm looking at it. I'm signing off on it. It's being validated by something like a contract or something else. And then, Nicole will issue the check, but she can't sign the check. I have to sign the check, and someone else is mailing the check. So she received an invoice one time, and it looked like it came from my email address. But it was using language that I never used. And so I walked past her office, and it was like for, if I recall, like $17,000 or something. And she's like, what's this invoice for? And I'm like, what invoice? And she pulls it up. I'm like,
don't click on it.
I have no idea. So, yeah.
Yep.
People are assholes. Okay.
Yeah.
So never feel pressure to give immediately. Like if someone's really like Fernando was doing with me, like, when's your board going to meet? Well, I mean, honestly, that was a decision I could have made, but I just needed to put them off because the red flags were all over the place. So take time to do your own research. Double check the name of the charity too, because scammers will frequently use names that sound like well-known charities to confuse people. Potential donors have every right to ask the fundraiser for the charity's exact name, the website, mailing address, so that they can independently confirm it.
Yep.
Never work with charities that ask for donations by giving numbers from a gift card or like by wiring money. That will always be a scam.
Right.
It's safest to pay by credit card or check, and only after verifying that charity is real. And never provide your personal information or share your bank account with someone that you don't know or trust. This happened to someone I know recently where she got a text from her bank that looked legitimately from her bank asking her to verify something. And so she verified it, and that's how they accessed all her stuff. Yeah. And so your bank is never, ever, 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 we talked about this before, going to text you, email you, call you, and ask you for any identifiable financial information because they already have it. Guess what? As your bank, they already have it.
Right.
So just delete, report. And if they try to tell you that they can guarantee you like you're going to win a prize in exchange for a donation, that's illegal. So that's not legitimate either. And if you or anyone you know has been a victim of a charity scam, please report it. You can immediately file a complaint with the FBI's Internet Crime Compliance Center and our complaint center, and we'll link that in the show notes. Or you can contact the disaster fraud hotline at 1-866-720-5721. You can also reach out to your state's consumer protection office, and we'll have everything linked in the show notes. And I decided to look up some of the most common types of nonprofit scams that are going on out there currently. Billing schemes, like we've talked about, invoices, all that kind of a thing. It can even look at, it's just like ordering something, personal goods, and then, ghost employees. So a ghost employee is someone who's on the payroll who doesn't actually work for your nonprofit. Instead, they falsify records and cause a paycheck to be issued. So I imagine this would happen in larger larger companies.
Oh.
Yeah, it would never fly here because
Right.
of the things that we have going on and the protections we have in place. But they issue that check and then it's cashed by the scammer before the company realizes that that's happened. So they're like
crazy.
hacking into your system and creating these ghost employees. Isn't that crazy?
Oh, that is crazy.
Yeah. Another one is just purely misappropriation of funds. So another way of saying embezzlement or money, of money or property. And so good checks and balances, especially in the nonprofit. I mean, across the board are smart. Vendor kickbacks. Although there are a few variations on this, the most common form of vendor kickback scam occurs when a vendor submits an invoice that's either inflated or, in that case of the one I was just telling you about, entirely fraudulent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Check fraud. This encompasses a huge variety of nonprofit scams and refers to using checks to commit fraud. That can mean forgery, theft, paper hanging, check kiting. I don't even know what these things are. Using chemicals to remove the information from a check and even counterfeiting. Expense fraud, self-explanatory, or theft of cash and assets. So those are the big ones. So pay attention. Multiple invoices from one vendor, unclear invoices, vendors you haven't heard of that are now reaching out to you, just especially when you're busy. And that's what happened to the person that I know. She was working and she was busy and she gets this thing from her bank.
Yes.
And, it just, so take a beat. Take a minute, really pay attention.
No victim shaming here.
No, not at all.
It's understandable, and they are very convincing. But yeah, I think it's good just to hold off a minute. If you have somebody, a branch you use often that you can call directly, I've done that before and said, hey, like I could call somebody by name. It was really helpful. And I said, I got this weird text or email that said there was an issue. Can you just look at my account? And he did. And he said, we see nothing. Just delete it. Don't touch it. Okay. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then one little last tidbit I saw. It's hard for me to relate to this one because of how close our staff members are. But they say that you really need to get to know your employees and learn to recognize personal triggers that may make somebody increasingly prone to try to scam you as their employer. Things like extreme personal financial difficulties caused by illness, divorce, legal problems, those kinds of things, or a troubled employment history may all indicate that an employee may be more likely to attempt to steal from you. It doesn't always, certainly,
right.
But it's better to monitor that situation than to be surprised by it. So keeping those things in mind, and just don't assume that your organization is safe because you're small and you know your employees, or you don't deal with large amounts of cash maybe. But nonprofit scams can and do happen to everyone. And so by really looking at your policies and making sure you have all those checks and balances in place, you're safeguarding your organization and, and then the work that you do.
Sometimes where the vulnerable organizations are kind of like sometimes your service organizations or like an association where it's not like this, where we have not only professional staff, but we also have a board and this and that. But I remember many years ago, it's been probably close to 20 years now, there was an association representing law enforcement agents, and the president of that organization, or I don't know if they were, actually, I don't think he was president, but he was an officer.
Treasurer or something.
Treasurer, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And what came out in court was an issue with gambling and some other things. There weren't great checks and balances, but lessons learned in the organizations that I'm a part of now, everything requires 2 signatures. We are very closely watching the bank accounts just to make sure that, everything was approved. We do have informal audits every year, those types of things, because on the surface, I mean, he was a friend.
Yeah.
He was
a brother.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he seemed trustworthy. And you can imagine, that's not the person you expect to steal a lot of money. But outside of what people knew of him, behind the scenes, he had a lot of problems. and he was paying for it. And I remember somebody said, because I was kind of like, how'd he get caught? And I think it was something like, well, previously this association had always had like one catered dinner at Christmas time, like a holiday party or a summer picnic, something like that, where it was always catered. And one year it's like, we don't have the funds, we have to have a potluck. It was something like that. And they were just like, we don't have the funds.
We don't have the funds, yeah.
And then people started looking closer, and it was realized that, he had a lot of control over the money, and it wasn't noticed soon enough. And I think it can go, if you get away with it a little bit, you can get away with it a lot. And that's kind of what happened in that
you
case.
keep going until you get caught, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Pretty much.
Yep.
We had that happen here with, I think, like a bookkeeper for a minor league hockey team. Remember all of that?
How long ago?
Oh,
a few years.
4 or 5. I am losing track of time.
Okay.
I think it was before COVID.
Okay. So I was
the new BC.
I say that because, like, when I got out of news, there's things like I have this like period where I had to like not pay attention as much because I was almost like still ingrained, like embedded in it, and I had to like let it go. And so I kind of stopped like paying attention to a lot of things for a short time, except what I was working on. And anyway, so that's why I'm like, timing kind of matters with certain bigger stories, because every once in a while I'm like, when was that? If it was after 2016, there might have been a period where I've blacked out.
Fair.
Okay.
So that you can call this episode Call Me Fernando.
Yes.
Piece of crap.
Fern. Maury.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mauricio. Pardon the pause, but we'd like to chat about the charity that is near and dear to your co-hosts' hearts, OneHeart. Revenue from this podcast supports the OneHeart campus, where people are empowered to change their own lives for the better. OneHeart is a 501c3, so donate directly at oneheartrc.org or become an EscapePod patron at escapepod.live. Either way, you help vulnerable individuals and families escape the grips of poverty and other challenges they face. Do it now before we close the hatch on 2024. Let's end on a happy note.
Okay.
What are you escaping to?
What am I escaping to? Well, I am being forced to take vacation by our HR director.
That's okay. That's a good thing.
So it's just like this time of year, there's nothing I want to do. I just want to hibernate. So
you can hibernate.
Yeah, I'm trying to squeeze in as much as I can between now and the end of the year so I can not lose it.
Right.
I'm still going to lose some, but
oh, shoot.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
That's fine.
I am escaping to an ugly sweater party.
Oh, yeah?
I'm pleased to say I had to borrow an ugly sweater.
Good.
I did not want to buy one. So the best part of the conversation with my friend was that she had several options. And then she said, my mom gets a little mad when I bring up these sweaters and sweater vests because she's always like,
from her.
Oh. And she's like, I used to wear those to work. Like, in her mind, they were not the ugly sweater.
Right.
It was not for an ugly sweater party. And I'm like, well, that's okay. And I love her mom so much. I can hear her saying it, and it kind of cracked me up.
I don't know if I'll ever get over it in this lifetime, but like I've told you about my whole I have started, can you say, like, it's hard for me. Mm-hmm. Like, in the last couple of years, I have gone into a thrift store a couple of times.
Okay.
But I have such an aversion to that because of having to do it growing up. And so, like, ugly clothes, ugly sweater, you cannot pay me to put one on. And I know it's fun and it's festive and it's up, but I will not do it.
That's okay.
And it's still one of those things, and I know exactly where it comes from. Same reason why, like, I never run out of anything at my house. Like, I have, like, anyway, it's just, yeah.
So I had a grandmother who loved rummage sales. She needed nothing, but she loved rummage sales. And I'm sure she probably got some kind of cool stuff at them sometimes, but really she liked them. And she would shop Saturday mornings, if they were out and about town. And my mom one time decided, I'll have a rummage sale. Like, we were growing up a little bit, so she had a lot of small kids' clothes. And I still kind of remember this, like getting everything ready. And she had like things pressed and nothing would have had like stains on it or anything like that. So she had it all very nice. And she said she will never forget people coming through and basically saying like, that's not worth 25 cents or that's
no.
And she just never again. She never did one again. She had zero interest in having people literally rummage through her items and our items and then pretending like they weren't worth anything.
Right.
Because she's just like, I wouldn't have put it out if there was something wrong with it. Like, she wasn't that type of person. And so that turned her off. And she doesn't go to rummage sales. She never held one. Yeah.
And then my mom, she'd be at work or whatever, and I'd have to run the rummage sale and just like.
We've done like my husband and I have done them before, but
I just give
not a lot of. I don't think we ever did clothes. Like, now I just give it away. I don't have the time. You don't. Make enough money off of it.
It's that too, but I also just. I mean, you know how private I am. I just don't want people at my house unless they're my people.
That's
like,
fine.
Even when people in my neighborhood are having a rummage sale, it's just like there's just all these people, and I'm just like, don't go away. I could be a Scrooge probably.
No. Okay, I am going to do 2 quick OneHeart woohoos before we wrap it up. These actually aren't so much about our guests, but about some of our community supporters.
Okay.
So the best part of my week this week was going to a local elementary school.
Yes.
Wilson Elementary. Shout out Wilson Mustangs. They did over 4 days. 4 days last month.
That was 4 days?
4 days.
Oh, my Lord.
They did a little drive called Pennies for Pillows, Dollars for Daily Needs. And they brought in both money and then items that we put in our guest welcome baskets. So if you're unfamiliar with OneHeart, we have a lot going on here, but we do provide transitional housing. When people move in, we have a little guest welcome basket, and it has new bedding. It has towels. It has new pillows. A lot of the folks that we're serving are not necessarily, sleeping under a bridge or out on the street someplace, but a lot of them are coming from substandard housing.
Yeah.
So whether they're in
or cars, yucky motels,
or their vehicles,
sleeping on a friend's floor.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like a lot of places we would not want to live. So we basically say, we're aware a lot of people don't have bedding to bring with them, but even if they did, we don't necessarily want it coming into our residential towers. And so we just tell them not to bring it. But because we tell them not to bring it, we provide it. Yeah. So these kiddos collected some items that can go in those guest welcome baskets. A lot of hygiene items like deodorant and shampoos.
I saw like even makeup and stuff too.
That's really cool. And then the one of our care coordinators said, kids' toothpaste. We never get kids' toothpaste.
That's true.
Like that was one of the things that was donated. So very, very functional, practical items that do get used. They will be used in our guest welcome baskets. And then they raised in 4 days $931.86.
You said it was a penny war.
It was a penny and dollar war. Yep.
That was I was blown away by that. Yeah.
And they were so cute about it. And like the kids didn't know what the final dollar amount was until Tuesday when we picked it up.
Oh, they didn't?
They did not know.
Okay.
Nope. What's the other one?
Well, that's the same one, like how when the teacher announced who they were going to raise it for.
Yes. So really in 2 cases, because we're aware there was another fundraising drive done for us by another school in town, but we don't have the funds yet. We go next week to pick those up. So it'll be a surprise a week from now. But in both cases, actually, when the teachers or counselors said, like, we're going to do this community service project for OneHeart, we have kiddos who go to those schools. And they very excitedly, in both cases, there were kids who basically raised their hands and said, that's where I live. And they're very proud of it. And
they should be.
They should be proud of it. And it just, it melted my heart. I did cry happy tears. I'm sure, like, with the littlest kids, they're probably like, why is that
Why is she crying?
I could hardly talk. Like, I was so surprised. I actually was crying when the counselor told me that story that they had kids say, like,
Yeah.
that's where
That's
I
where
live.
I live.
Yes. So, and now I'm tearing up again. Gosh darn it,
But I
Charity.
mean, when you think about it, though, and it means everything to them to have a stable freaking place to be. For those of you that have always had that and you've never not had that, you cannot understand what it's like to not have that stable, safe,
Yep.
accepting, welcoming place, roof over your head. Like you just can't.
Yep.
It transforms people. And so any city council people or freaking mayor, all of you listening, like this is a gem.
Yeah.
And when we have our guests, I mean, I just had it happen in orientation yesterday. One of the gentlemen coming for orientation, he's been on campus for about 2 months. And he's like, what are you doing to bring OneHeart to other communities?
Yeah.
And we've had other communities come and look. This model, while it seemed far-fetched to people in the beginning, like it is producing lasting, sustainable outcomes. It is transforming lives. And I think that and the people, like I was just telling a hopefully new partnering agency on the other side of the state yesterday, that all the surveys that we do of our guests, 100% of our guests, looking at the survey data over just the last year, say that they would and have recommended OneHeart to people that they know that are struggling in similar situations.
Yep.
And it is so huge and it is so precious, and this community should be rallying around OneHeart and the results we're producing. And so, so some city council members should be put on blast. I won't do that here, but
right.
a day may be coming.
One more woohoo. Thanks, a heartfelt thanks to our local hockey team.
Go Rush!
Go Rush. They adopted one of our families, a single mom with several kiddos, and they took her Christmas shopping yesterday so that she could get
precious
items for her kiddos.
That'd be so strange to be shopping with hockey players.
Right? Listen, I saw pictures of the gift wrapping, and if they don't make it in hockey, they could be professional. They were pretty good.
Okay.
I felt like
they
there's
wrapped those
some
gifts themselves?
skills there. Yes.
They did. Okay.
I think she wrapped some too, but
That's
it
awesome.
appeared that it was a group effort. So we really appreciate that. So, and the guest, the mom, was just, I think, really overjoyed, and they will get to go to a hockey game as a family this weekend, and I just think it's really fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's all I got.
Thank you, Rush. That means a lot.
It does. It took a little bit, logistics, because she's a working mom. So it took a little bit to figure out how to do it and make it work. But we got it. We made it in time.
Well, I mean, the majority of our guests are working, and if they're not working, they're in school, or some of them are doing
usually
both.
Both. Yeah, often both. So thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate every one of you. If you like what you heard, and we hope you do, please share it with friends who you think might enjoy it too. We're a small team here, writing, researching, producing, and promoting the show in our spare time. It is just a little escapism from a very busy week. Hopefully one day we'll be able to provide operational support for the nonprofit OneHeart, where we work and where our mission is empowering people to overcome crisis and achieve self-sustainability. That's the goal.
That's the goal. Yes, we are truly a podcast for a cause, so you can feel good about spreading the word. Please rate and review wherever you listen to your podcast. It really helps small enterprises like ours gain more exposure, and more listeners equals more ad revenue. You can also consider becoming a patron, where you just do a $2 or $5 or $10 a month contribution, and those dollars go to fund our work. You can check out our website at EscapePod.live, link out to our socials from there. Reach out to us at EscapePod.live with just an idea for an episode, or a, hey, here's a correction corner, or whatever it is.
Yeah, sure.
Or you can share your story of escaping the Fernandos of the world at EscapeArtist at EscapePod.live.
I hope they have equally as cool of a name, though.
That is a great name. You know what? How many verbs do we have that are people's names now? We have an Ethan.
Yeah.
We have now a Fernando, which means effing someone over.
We're trying to.
Ethan
didn't succeed.
That was hilarious. We won't talk about it now. What else others do we have? We have quite a few verbs.
I don't know. When I hear them, I know.
Yeah, okay.
we are closing the hatch on this episode of the Escape Pod. Remember, trauma may be inevitable. How you grapple with it is optional. So stay resilient.
And keep laughing. Stay away from con artists.
Bye, everybody.